Hey everybody, I'm replacing the fuel pump here on my 2001 XJ Cherokee. I'm just going to go over a couple of things that help me out. There's other videos on YouTube that go over this procedure. I ran into a couple snags. I'm just going to give a little tips that help me. When you first drop the tank, it'll be held up with these hangers here. You're just going to loosen the bolts, the nuts on these hangers. The shield for the exhaust, I snipped that. I don't know if you can see that very well. I made a little snip in that to get it. There's a nut above it and a nut below it. Take the nut below it off, and I snipped a little piece of it out, and then I pulled it out of the way and took this nut here off. I did have to heat these up with a torch to get them off. I let them soak in some WD-40 overnight, and then I heat them up with a torch and they came off really easy. You're going to disconnect the 3 lines that's run to your fuel pump. There's a vent hose, your high pressure fuel line, and then your electrical connector. Those are located right up in here. Got your high pressure fuel line, your electrical connector, and this is your vent tube. Now, when I dropped this tank, I didn't have access to these hose clamps, so I took them off on the fill spout, which was actually a lot easier because the nuts for these were on the top side of the tank. When I put these new ones on, I put them on the bottom side, so if I have to take the tank off again, they're easier to get to. How I did that, if you look up, where's my plate at? So there's this thin metal plate that sits right here, and that protects those lines. There's just 4 screws that held that on, so I took that off, and you can see your spouts right there. So I just took the clamps off this end, pulled the hoses, and then fed them through this hole in the frame here. Now, when I actually got to the pump, there was this locking ring that holds the pump down. Took all that off, got the old pump out. This is the new pump here, and it comes with a new O-ring that fell down into the tank. So one thing that helped me with this O-ring, you can see that it's got a layer on it. It's got like 2 levels, and it's notched out on the inside of the tank to fit that. Now, how I did it is I placed the O-ring on the fuel pump first instead of placing it around the tank, because when I placed it around the tank and tried to put the pump in, it would mash up and part of it would fall into the tank, and it wasn't working. So I put the fuel pump in here and I set it in place, try to line it up carefully, and I just eased around and pushed the O-ring in all the way around. You have to work at it a little bit. Alright, spin it so it's started. The O-ring is seated. Also, if you notice, there is a arrow. Make sure the arrow points out towards this opening here, and line your high pressure fuel line up with that. Now once I have it started, I just went around and just pressed it down, and you'll hear it kind of click into place. That's that O-ring seating in that lip in the fuel tank. And once I got seated, I once again make sure it's lined up. Now your locking ring. So I made a little mark on the locking ring. That's where the threads start. So the thread on the tank starts right here in the front. So I'm going to put my locking ring on. And I got that notch right up front. Now this, you kind of got to set it in place and make sure it's level. You'll hear it click, and then you can start rotating it on. Alright, so now I got that on. I'm going to get a screwdriver and a hammer and kind of tap it around just a little bit more, snug it up. I think I'm happy with that. Next I'm going to put this tank back up on my jack and get it set back in place. Now before I do that, I'm going to put my new hose clamps on the other end of my hoses. Tighten this one up a little bit. Might need another hand for this. Alright, I'm going to take these straps out. On the back side, as you can see, they're just, you just got to pull it up and rotate it. You can take these straps out. Alright, so I got my tank in this far. Now I think I may have to take it back out to get this other strap in. Not quite sure yet. Let's see. Alright, so I was barely able to get that in there. What I did was I tilted it toward the passenger side, and I put my hoses, my fill hose, up through that hole. And as you can see over here on this side, now the tank is too far to the passenger side. The straps don't line up with the groove in the tank. As you can tell, here's the groove. Here's my strap. I need to take it driver's side, so I'm I'm thinking if when I reconnect those hoses to the fill spout, that'll give me enough room. Let's try it out. Yep, seems to be pulling the tank over a little bit. Now, I don't know if you saw it real well, but that is what it looks like without the plate on. And that's what the plate looks like in place. 4 screws, take this off, then you have access to those hose clamps. Also might help to put a little lube on those things. That is just about lined up from what I can tell. So, see if we can get this strap on. Just some strap on. So I got the driver's side hanger up. Get this out of the way. See if we get the passenger side hanger. Now these hangers just looks like that on one end. You just push these up and put them in their little groove up there. This is that notch I cut out of the heat shield. Go around that and almost. Alright, so that hanger's in place. The tank could go a little more driver, but it's pretty lined up. And that hanger is in place. So, hangers are in place, gas tank's up. All that's left to do now is to reconnect your lines, tighten these nuts up, and tighten up your hose clamps here on the fill spout. Hope that helps. Alright, see you later.